My name's Nicole Thomas. I'm 42 years old. I live in Southern California in the suburbs. I am wanting to talk about my own ignorance regarding racism and ask for forgiveness from my friends in the Black community, and also to encourage my friends in the white community to open up your eyes and your ears and your mind to something that you might not understand. I got introduced to racism from my longtime friend, and I considered her part of my family. And it was during the time when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee. And what I had been told, and my narrative that I had adopted, was that he was disrespecting the flag and disrespecting our country and the military. And my friend was trying to explain to me that no, that there was racial issues that he was standing up for and that it was important. And I didn't understand it at all. And I saw her go silent and be very respectful of me. But I could tell that I had really hurt somebody that I really cared about. And so because of her, I started doing some research. Now, I'm not an expert at all, which is kind of why I haven't said anything, because I don't want to say it wrong. But I've read a couple books, I've watched a couple documentaries, and I just want to help people who maybe don't understand to at least I can tell you what I've learned, the little bit that I've learned. One of those issues is Black Lives Matter. So when I had heard Black Lives Matter, when that was introduced to me, it came with the narrative of, well, all lives matter. And I just want to step back and kind of explain that. So if my child was being abused at school and I went to the principal and I said, my child needs help, my child is being abused, please, my child's life matters. If the principal came back to me and said, all the children's lives matter, I would feel so disregarded, like that my child's problem wasn't going to be acknowledged and wasn't even important to the principal. So when we hear Black Lives Matter, in order to say that we care and that we agree, because they're being wronged in our society, we need to say, yes, Black lives do matter. They matter to me, and Black lives are important to me, and I want to see change. I don't want to see Black lives abused anymore. Another thing that I was confused about was why did my opportunities not also, why didn't everybody have equal opportunities for education or for, betterment of themselves? And I really didn't get that. So my very little understanding of this, and it goes all the way back to slavery, but I'm just going to start with the GI Bill. So after World War II, anyone who was a Black veteran was denied the GI Bill, which would have given them a home loan so that they could buy a home for their family. So the same soldiers fighting side by side come home and they're not given equal treatment, which, as we know, if you own a home, then that home increases in value. You pass that home value down to your family. Now that sets them up for a better life. Not only that, but if you own a home in a good area, now you have access to better education, better opportunities everywhere. So that Black families in general were put into a district where they literally drew a red line around the map, and they took the Black families into those areas, and those areas are slums. So they're not giving Black families the same opportunities. And even just simple things like right now, the average white family makes $171,000 a year, according to a research that I did, where a Black family makes $17,000 a year. Another thing is that 90% of our nation's wealth is in the hands of white families. So I think anybody can acknowledge that's really wrong. It should be more evenly distributed. Another thing is that Black people are 13% of the population, but they're 40% of the prison population. Something's wrong there. So I just think that we need to acknowledge that there's a lot of problems, and I don't really know how exactly to fix it. I'm not an expert, but I want to see change, and I want to be part of using my voice and being willing to have difficult conversations and acknowledge that I've been part of the problem, mostly by my silence, by not being willing to have the difficult conversation because I'm uncomfortable, and I need to just get over myself and find out what other people's experiences are. When George Floyd was killed, I hate to say that I wasn't shocked, because it just keeps happening over and over again. And that's another thing that I knew that there would be things happening in the world. And I knew that these names would come up, like Michael Brown and Tamir Rice and Freddie Gray and Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, Laquan McDonald, Sandra Bland, Ahmaud Arbery. These are people who've died unjustly, in my opinion, and they deserve to have justice served. When George Floyd was killed, the reason that people are so upset about it is because the officers weren't immediately fired. They weren't immediately detained. They weren't immediately served justice like anyone else would be. If you murder somebody, you deserve to go to jail. So because that is not happening, still hasn't happened as of today. That was Monday, today's Thursday. We're still waiting for a response. That's why people are angry. And it makes perfect sense to me. I look at like Ted Bundy's arrest, and he's smiling, being like escorted gently by officers. You gotta be kidding me. If you can't recognize that there's a difference between the way a Black person is treated by the brutality, and I'm not saying anything about that all police officers are bad. Obviously, I have lovely police officer friends, but there is something going really wrong in how Black people are treated. And especially in this particular instance, it's not okay. And it needs to stop. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means different training. I know there's people who are experts in this. I don't know what I'm talking about as far as that goes. I just want to see some changes made. And I'm going to be watching. And I want to say that the world is watching to make sure that changes are made. The system needs help. This is a poem that I wrote about a year ago, and I haven't really shared it because I feel like people probably are going to backlash, but if you've come this far in this video, then maybe you're ready for it. Here we go. My broke is a joke, like I don't pay my bills. Praying America will wake up from taking white pills. We live on Easy Street, making our white dollars, bragging about how money comes while going out in white collars. Never seeing how we're stepping out on a past of greed, living easy underneath the shade of money trees. We like the lies, won't even listen, just keep celebrating. We close our eyes to the truth of whom and what we're dating. We pay our mortgage, cheer for arrogance, and eat our ice cream. Looks like a signed deal with the devil, not a white dream. We say our life is blessed. Oh, I don't hear that seed. Take our check from a white face, from a white bank, and ignore the need. Never had to buy a house from prejudice called the red line. Never had our life threatened to wake up from blind. Pretending we aren't responsible while others bleed. The past is full of blood. We're living fat from greed. It's not my problem. That's such a sick seed. Ignoring homicide and rape because it's not a white need. We're living in a country built on the dead bodies of Blacks. They feared the whip and built our empire upon their backs. We took their lives and passed the money down, pretending not to see. Still passing dollars, muddied from hangings because they tried to flee. Let's say my granddaddy killed and stole to make my family rich. That dirty money sets me up to live a silent kind of racist, wanting nothing but a maid to clean my basement. Now let's see what happens if we just pave over it. Accepting madness in our home of red, white, and blue, teaching our children to be bullies and not have a clue. We can't ignore the truth of what's happened here. Our life is smooth because of years of hatred and fear. Our easy came from years of slavery, terror, and abuse, still killing the innocent while eating plates of refuse. It's not very hard, just look over your white fence. This acting ignorant is causing hurt, massive offense. We can give, really give back. Not sure we'll ever rectify this wrong. I'm crying out for justice, for America to sing a true freedom song. I have love, so much love for everybody on both sides. And I really want to see people being willing to open up their minds and listen to someone else's story, because we won't change if we don't have the conversation and if we don't act. Thanks.